dangerous.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Sociologist, the #1 podcast that breaks down the good, the bad, and the ugly of society.
Thinking of a master plan.
Got a bad feeling about this.
Dangerous. Dangerous.
Make a clap to this.
And now your host, DJ Chacos.
Okay, so let's cut to the chase. I'm going to give you my conspiracy theory. And I said, I believe in very few of them. I almost believe in nothing. But this time, it kind of makes sense to me. And obviously, it has to do with the COVID. Now, my theory is the following. This is first time worldwide that I've exposed my philosophy on this conspiracy and why I believe that it's very, very, very realistic. It's a very realistic scenario on actually being true. Now, what does the world have increasing over the decades, over the last few years?
Population.
Correct. So you already mentioned that initially. Now, the population is growing, but even more growing are the old people, right?
Yeah.
So like in Tokyo, I think the natality rate is going down. In general, all over the world, the natality rate is going down. So there are more older people in the world than there are younger people.
Exactly,
right now.
yeah.
Okay. So what do the older people normally get when they finish
Pension.
working? They get their pension correctly. Now, these pensions, okay, who are they managed by?
The governments,
The government,
companies.
the bank, and insurance companies. Blah.
Yeah.
And what happens with these? What happens with these funds that are given to insurance companies? And what happens to these funds that are given to banks? What happens? The banks, the insurance companies, what do they do
What
with this money?
does
With this money, the pension funds.
pension funds? They give it to the people.
No, that's the concept. But
Yeah.
before they give it to the people, what do? They gamble it. How do they gamble it? They gamble it on hedge fund. They or hedge funds or in general funds. They gamble it away either on the stock market and wherever so they can make more money, right? Because they want to create more capital.
Yeah.
And I'm just dumbing it down so that everybody can understand the concept. I'm really, really simplifying it.
So you're
But
calling
it's
us
really-
dumb people and you're the intelligent.
No,
guy.
I'm saying it in a way that everybody can understand because
Uh-huh.
it's a lot more complex than that. Obviously, it's a lot more complex on how the process is. I'm just giving you the gist because we're on the social gist. So they tend to gamble it away, okay? So what happens is these pension funds, at some point, we have a higher living rate than we did like 10 years ago. And we have a higher
50
living
years
rate
ago,
now,
too.
even 50 years ago, even
Yeah,
100
of
years
course.
ago, like by a lot, okay? This theory came to me because at some point in time, when I was a young guy working where I was in
Out of the
university, yeah, no, I used to be a woman. No. No, when I was in university, basically, and I was looking for a job, and I was looking for any job that I could do for a short period, very short period, because I realized it was sort of a scam. I started working for this company that was selling insurances and selling holidays at the same time. Why I worked there and why I believe that concept was legit, don't ask me. I was very desperate. I needed the money. And I worked for this company, and they gave you seminars and they try to brainwash you on how to sell and why to sell and how it works. And it was only after staying there for a period of time that at some point it came out through the question that the insurance companies, how did it work? Let me just really briefly break it down on how it worked. Basically, we would sell insurance to people and they could pay whatever amount they wanted within every year or every month and so forth. They could do it whichever way was more comfortable for them. And they could do that for 10, 15, 20, 30 years, 40 years, whatever. And at some point when that stopped, when they decided to retire, they would get their retirement money and they could claim an extra retirement sum from these insurance companies. And the prospect was you can either ask for the money altogether, or you can do something even better and just have you get paid like 1,000 euros a month or 600 euros a month or 300 euros a month as an addition to the pension that you're getting. Certainly that will help you. Certainly that will make you live your life comfortably.
Easy, yeah.
And that made sense. And like, yeah, why not? Why not have some extra cash when you take the pension? Okay, I did the math. And I'm thinking, okay, say I start now that I'm 25 and I'm going to give this amount. I'm going to be giving them by the end that I get my retirement about 60, 70,000 euros. At that point, I'm about 65, 67, whatever it is. And I'm making I'm getting my pension and I get this money. So that means if they have to pay me back that money and I'm about to get the next amount every month from them, I would have to live over 100 years, right? So that was a question that I had asked at the time. And they said, no, look, the insurance companies do it like that. They give you that portion of your supposed pension that you were paying for at a very valid interest rate because they know that the average lifespan at the time, and we're talking about 30 years ago, the average lifespan of the person is about 70 to 75 years old. So if you retire, say, when you're 67 and you start collecting money, by the time they have considered that you are going to die before they pay you back everything. You understand? You follow me?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember. I was with you.
Yeah.
Remember?
So no, I don't even know who you were back then. But the concept was that. So they knew that they were not going to pay you off. So the gain, the real gain, was like they were banking on the fact that you're going to die soon or within a certain statistic.
Exactly.
And that came to mind with this whole COVID situation where, I was pretty curious of many things with this COVID. First and foremost, you can't go to the hospital when you're sick, which makes no sense. Second, and every death, even though not related directly to COVID, is considered COVID. And then I found out that people get money. The hospitals, everybody gets money when they declare it as a COVID. So if they're getting money, that means the government is getting money. And the government is getting money because there was also another scandal from the Ukrainian former vice president, or president, I don't remember, where he was asked to put the country under lockdown and he would get an X amount of money.
Polish. It was a Polish.
Polish. And he refused. I think it was Ukrainian. But anyway.
No, it was Polish. I read about it too.
And he refused. So I'm thinking, okay, so somebody's paying somebody to do something that's affecting everybody. So then it hit me. Then I started putting the conspiracy theory together. So I'm thinking, okay, so you've got these insurance companies and hedge funds and banks that are holding all these pension funds of all these people that they're supposedly at some point going to give back. But they don't really want to give back. It's like an insurance company. No insurance company wants to pay you out so quickly. If they steal your car, if they steal something from you, they're going to go through thick and thin to try not to pay you. Same thing goes like, if you've got an insurance claim for health and you try to claim it back, it's very, very difficult that you don't fall under one of their clauses and they can't pay you. So I'm thinking, they don't want to pay this money. They know that the majority of the population is old. So how are they going to solve that problem? Well, what can they do that doesn't really affect them directly? Enter Wuhan or the Wu-Tang. And basically what happens is they create this virus that ironically and very, very suspiciously kills old people, kills a lot of old people.
Yeah.
But like it really hits the old people. Okay, it kills young people as well, but you have to be like really unlucky. But the majority of the deaths are old people. And here's the thing, old people die of other things too, not just COVID. So it's a really good justification. So here's where the motive stands. These insurance companies, okay, that hold pension funds, these banks that are held by the insurance companies, and the insurance companies that lend the money to the hedge funds so they can make extra money and they don't want to pay it back, are paying for this pandemic to take place. It's not the 5G, it's not Bill Gates. He might be a partner in this, but it's about the money. It's always about the money. The fact that they don't allow you to go to the hospital to get well, the fact that they force you to take this vaccine, which hasn't been proven and is not even effective, and the fact that you take it doesn't mean that anything else changes. I think you sent me a video about it the other day or today. So that to me says like, okay, so somebody's paying somebody so they can kill the old population of the world on a global scale so that they don't have to pay the fucking pensions. And that means that every time these people die, these insurance companies make a ton of extra money because they don't have to pay it back. The people die. If 200,000 people died in the States and the majority average of them is like 70, 75 years old, do you know how much money that is? It's a ridiculous amount of money. Enough to pay governments, enough to pay insurance companies and pharmaceutical companies to go along with it. It is ridiculously easy to do that. I mean, the concept of the whole thing is not easy, but when money is at stake, we know for a fact that a lot of people become compliant. A lot of governments become compliant. And even the rules that they do, they don't make any sense. They don't make any sense. We said it the other time, right? If you're caught on your own without a mask on the beach, on your own, you can get a fine. Okay, but if you go into a restaurant and you're eating with another, 25 or 50 people, that's fine.
70, yeah.
No risk. You're not going to die. It's ridiculous. You do the vaccine, you get the vaccine, you still have to put on your mask because is it secure that you're not going to die? No, it's not secure that you're not going to die. So the point is, you get my theory.
Yeah.
Because for me, it makes total sense. Like if I've got like 5 million and I'm going to have to give a big portion of it back, and I probably have fucked it up in hedge funds and wrong investments, so I've lost it, so I don't have that money. 1, 2, I have that money, but I want to use it for different. I want to pay you back. Well, for me, it makes perfect sense. And I think this is the real reason why we have this global pandemic. Never again have we had such a pandemic where we have crazy rules. People get money to put their stamp of the corona on your death, and it's not going away. And the moment we think, okay, vaccine done, people have started isolation done, masks done, we're washing our hands now, yay, everything's happy. What happens? A mutation is out now. Like we didn't have time to create a vaccine for this, that a mutation is already out. Can you believe that?
No,
it's ridiculous. Like this thing was born last year, supposedly, or this version of the coronavirus was born last year or found last year, discovered, and already within a year there's a variation, and it's even resistant to that vaccine.
Yeah, but they say it's a creation. This virus was created. It's not
I
a
know,
normal thing from.
I know, because now I also read the other day that the chief person who was in Wuhan looking for these viruses or analyzing these viruses is the chief person who was in charge of the investigation trying to find out how to control it.
Yeah.
So, you're basically the thief and policeman at the same time. And as a policeman, you're trying to supposedly, charge yourself with wrongdoing, which is not going to happen. So that, to me, that's my theory. That's my conspiracy theory. That is the reason behind this global pandemic craze that we're going through. Because to me, it just makes sense in terms of money. It makes sense in terms of money. Nobody locks you down. Governments do not give a fuck about you. Capitalism does not give a fuck about you, about what you feel, and if you're happy, if you're sad. They don't give a fuck about you. It's that simple. They either lost the money, or they fucked the money somehow, or they have the money and they said, you know what?
Just don't want to give it back. Yeah.
Why do we need to give these trillions back? Why? These people are going to die. Okay, so let's help the process, and we'll pay off a few international
The whole world is
corporations.
paying off.
Yeah, and they'll go with it. They'll go with it. Nobody questioned all these doctors that you were claiming in the other podcast that were claiming, that the pandemic is a hoax. Okay, and yet all the governments believe it. All the governments go lockdown.
Exactly.
But that's the thing. Like, the differences that we had when we had that podcast is that I needed to find and understand a reason why it would be plausible. I cannot believe that it's just some guy who used to be a computer quiz, okay, that now just wears like colorful jumpers, all of a sudden has decided that we're too many. He's going to clean polio from India, and then he's going to create another vaccine or another virus that's going to kill the people in India. So then, like, okay, why do polio in the first place? So it makes much more sense to me that these companies that just don't want to pay out.
Yeah.
So do you believe my theory?
Yeah, absolutely, and it's a really good theory of that.
And again, from all the trolls and all the people that will be hating, if there will be anybody who could possibly hate two brothers like us, I was just giving like a generalized version of the thought, because if I really start speaking complex, then I wouldn't be able to have a conversation with Costa. He probably wouldn't understand most of it. So I'm really trying to keep it simple so that he can follow through.
Probably.
So with that, I think
it's already like too hard for you.
That's my conspiracy theory. But I think the main trigger for that is we've got too many old people. We need to kill the old people, because if old people cost a lot of money and they do fuck all money wise. And I think that's the thought of the corporation. And that's, they're not bringing in cash. Young people, they can always work, and old people, that's it. Nobody, the insurance companies, I'm pretty sure insurance companies don't sit and think like, oh, this guy has worked his ass off for 45 years. He deserves the rest for the next 15 of his life and to get some money and enjoy whatever is left of it. No, they don't give a fuck about that. Doesn't work that way. So, yeah, well, they sell it that way, but it doesn't work that way. Yeah, that's my theory. And I think with that, we can shut down this podcast and leave everybody thinking about it. What do you think, Costa? Are you with me?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think it's
now you're thinking seriously about my theory, huh?
No, actually, it's a really, really good theory.
Of course it is. And the pharmaceutical companies don't only make money from being paid by the insurance companies, but they also make money on their publicity, because there are like 3-4 companies that made this vaccine, and these companies are going to thrive now. They're going to have more investments. They're going to have more funding. They probably got like leases and grants from the governments to be able to get more funding. So, it all just makes sense to me like that in terms of money, because in terms of actual sickness versus resolution to this problem, nothing makes sense from any government whatsoever. There's no justification in this world, and I believe any true doctor would say the same. No justification in this world that if you are sick, you cannot go to the hospital. People told you do not go to the hospital. The hospital is there because you can go there when you're sick. When they tell you something like that, there's no justification when they tell you you have to go home at night at 9 o'clock in the evening. Why the fuck can I spend the entire day with 50 people, whether it be going to the paper or the post office or whatever in my office, but then at 9 o'clock I have to be in bed? Like, where's the logic in that? Where does it say that at 9:05 the coronavirus can fuck you up so bad? It doesn't make sense. Who makes these decisions? It's like having parents that are overzealous and don't know what the fuck is going on with their children. And they put you on this guilt trip. Because when we had the lockdown, the recent lockdown, the first period, The government was going out and saying, like, we're going to have to put more measures because you fuckers are going out after 9, because you fuckers are still meeting in parking lots. So they put the guilt trip on you. So, like, we're going to give you harder measures, and we're going to shut down even any sort of liberty that you have because it's your fault. Not because I can't close the airports, not because I can't shut down properly whatever, route of spreading this pandemic can be. They still wanted tourism. Yeah, we need tourism to live, and I agree with that. But right now, if it means that people are going to die, don't fucking open the airports, So they make you feel guilty with that. Like, oh, okay. And now we're going to go deeper. Now we're going to go deeper. Like in Greece, they barely were thinking about opening. And as soon as they're thinking about opening, all of a sudden, they've got the mutated version of the coronavirus. They're going to go into a deeper lockdown than it was before. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? 1 year. We're still believing this? No. So for me, that's my theory. It makes sense. I was right. Remember, whoever hears this is the first time you heard it at the Social Gist. Make this blow up, please. Make it.
Yeah, you gotta say this.
Make this blow up. People need to hear this. Okay. Now,
TV.
Yeah. With that, we bid you good night. Good night, everybody. Thank you for following us. And we'll see you next week again with a new topic. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to tune in every week on thesocialgist.com or click on the links below for updates on our social channels.